Welcome. It is Thursday, October 10th. Uh, was the last day of work for me because tomorrow's going to be a lot of work. Tomorrow we're driving to my parents to spend Yom Kippur there. Store will be open again on Sunday. Um, Lots to talk about the store schedule. Actually, first off, it is uh, Bobcat. I gotta go give my son some insulin. So that's this is actually a hat that was made for me by a customer's mom. He said, "Oh, I told my mom you always wear hats like that, and she's always making hats like that." So anyway, let me go give Zeke his insulin. Don't mind me. I don't know how I feel about this insulin thing being locked. What if he's got an emergency and someone else needs to get him the insulin? Doesn't know the password. Right? There we go. Insulin is being delivered. It's amazing. It is amazing to live in modern technology. It's really a new thing in the last 10 years. You can just get a little monitor and a thing that sticks to your skin, and it's a whole insulin pump, and it's really amazing. It's really. I know people who had diabetes when I was growing up. It was not that easy, not that simple. Really incredible, the strides. Imagine if lots of money was. I mean, I'm sure millions of dollars goes to diabetes research. Anyway, schedule. Demetrios, the retailer who's reached out to us about helping while I'm away, will be in the shop this Sunday to learn the ropes, this Tuesday when I'm getting on the plane, and next Sunday and Tuesday. So there will be more hours in the shop than currently listed on Google, than currently announced in our schedule, and I'm going to make that public probably on Sunday. Like I said, tomorrow's Yom Kippur. I've got that on my mind. Uh, First, the story. Right, I get a phone call around 6:30, maybe it was a little early. I get a phone call around 6:30 about a guy saying he's looking for the little Spidey booklets. Right, those I've shown them, the little $6 32 page. I think they're more like 64-page little books of Spidey stuff. I'm like, yeah, we have them. He goes, okay, well, I'm looking for 20. I'm looking for 20 of these little comic book booklets. And I'm like, look, I can order you 20 easily. It's Marvel. It's a Penguin Random House. It's a warehouse in Maryland. We can get it, for you next week. Which is, again, very tight. Next week is going to be crazy with my travel, but we can do it. I didn't say that all to him, but I told him we can get it. And he goes, well, I need it on Sunday. And I'm like, I have other things that are similar with Spider-Man. They're not Spidey. And then I have Spidey comics, like not the comic I'm about to show you, comic, like a full-size comic. The thing he was looking for is about this big. They're like little booklets. And I said, we have stuff that's this big. We have stuff that's this big, and then we have stuff that's this big, all for kids, all stuff that kids have heard of. We can get you any of it. And he goes, right, I need it Sunday, and I don't know, do you have things like, do you have My Little Pony? I'm like, yeah, but like not all in the same size. I don't have 20 of any of those one things in the same size. Maybe if you just wanted Marvel stuff, but it was for 4-year-olds. So even I have plenty of Marvel stuff, but they wanted stuff the kids could at least enjoy on their own. Didn't necessarily have to be read to them. I had 20 things like that, but not all one thing. And he goes, okay, I'll call you back. All right. And I'm like, I said to Emily was there. I go, look, what am I going to do? I want to help the guy, but he needs it Sunday. It's really like, I feel bad, but about 7:30, half an hour before closing, the guy calls back. And he goes, right, I called. I said, oh, absolutely, yeah, I would love to help you. He goes, okay, so can we get those booklets? Can we get those like 8 or 9 booklets, whatever I had, and another like 10 or 15 to like 10 or I think 12 to get to 20, and we'll put them together. I said, okay. He goes, and they're like all this size, right? They're all this big. And I go, no. Only the Spidey is the only thing that comes that size. I realize now I have one copy of a Mickey Mouse comic that came that size, but it's still, I didn't have 10 of anything else that size. The Owly books, if you know Owly, is pretty similar in size, but they're much thicker. They're $10 books. These were $6. These are going to be given in a grab bag, obviously, at a birthday party. From the little I'm picking up, it's a birthday party. They want, fine. So he talks about, okay, what size are the other ones? I'm like, well, the other ones are, like half a comic size. I don't know if you know, I'm not going to go running around my house to get them all together, but there's DC and Marvel both make different size, smaller versions of very kid-geared things. But he wanted really small, thin things, disposable things, and most of those are like $10. I kept mentioning that we have comics like this. Again, not like this. This is, I believe, rated teen plus. Not for 4-year-olds, but we have plenty of 4-year-old stuff, but not all one thing. And he goes, okay, well, how many of that do you have? So I said, okay, I have 10 Spidey comics, all the same comic. And he goes, okay, you have My Little Pony. And we put together a whole bunch. And he goes, all right, I'll be in to pick that up 6 p.m. tomorrow. 6 p.m. tomorrow, I will be praying in synagogue, all dressed in white. That sounds right. I'm going to be, it's Yom Kippur. And even if it wasn't Yom Kippur, it's a Friday night. I would be closed. But I don't blame the guy. He just called this place. I've given people, we have this book on hold. Yes, we have that book. Okay, I'll put them aside for you. And then they go, hey, where are you located? And I'm like, Huntington, Long Island. They go, okay, like, what exit is that if I'm coming from, in the name of town, like three towns over? Because they just use their phone. So I get that the guy, doesn't know my hours. And he's like, okay, so I'll be there on Saturday. I said, we're always closed on Saturday for the Sabbath. I'm really sorry. And he goes, oh. I was like, look, it's really not a problem. You need this stuff. He goes, yeah. So could you gonna be open Friday morning? And I said, we open at noon on Friday. He goes, I'm like, look, it's very easy. I know the owner of the Ben & Jerry's right next door. I can leave a package for you. I can invoice you right now for these comics. We just picked them out over the phone. You're just going to come and pick them up. You can pick them at Ben & Jerry's. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah, just give me your email address. Take his email address, send it to him, take the package over, Ben & Jerry's, get paid. Everything's good, fine. It's there. He knows. I've emailed him back. As I'm hanging up the phone, this is the whole point of the story, and then we'll get to the real reason everyone is here, which is to discuss Knuckles. Right before I hang up the phone, the guy goes, I called here because I saw that little video on Instagram about, Prime Day and stuff, and I was like, I made a stupid little reel on Instagram, and it directly led to a sale in which the exact convenience, the idea is this man could have gone on Amazon and gone, doot, 20 Spidey booklets. And he would have primed it over tomorrow. He would have had it tomorrow. And because of this stupid little video that my daughter pushed me to make, he said, I saw that ad. That comic shop is near us. We're going to support them. And not only did he call and go, oh, well, you don't have what I want. Okay. He called back. So thank you. That's a point of the series. Big thank you to Dan. Anyone who does that, anyone who's willing to really support a shop. The idea that this guy could have gone on Amazon and the next day got those books delivered. Really just thank you. So everyone who does that, anyone who goes into stores and makes that happen, I really appreciate that. Now, even Joe doesn't know this. I think it maybe was mentioned once that I was, while feeding the baby, my current watching was the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. But I don't know if even Joe is aware that not only did I watch in the last month both Sonic the Hedgehog movies, but I also watched the Knuckles spin-off show. I think I mentioned it, but I'm really not positive. Did you know that, Joe? Anyway, I'm here to argue I'm here to say that it is possible to debate that the entire Sonic franchise from the original game, 92, right? 1992? The original game through every incarnation of Sonic was invented for the fourth episode of the Knuckles the Echidna spin-off show. This is not to say that this is a good show. This is an exceptional episode in a pretty lousy show, in a bunch of absolutely wonderful mindless movies. Now we're gonna do story time. Okay, story time. You ready? You ready to go back with me? 1990. Dying for a video game system. Friend's house have a Nintendo. My cousins have an Atari. Really, really, really want one. My brother and I go half in on Hanukkah. And we decide that the Nintendo's great, but that year came out, I think it was 90. Could be 91, 92, maybe. I think it was 90. The Genesis, the Sega Genesis had come out, and it was 16-bit. It was 16-bit. That's double the bits. And we were like, okay. We played Altered Beast in the arcade. I loved Street Fighter in the arcade, and it didn't look like Street Fighter was going to translate onto the NES. Like, we didn't know that it was definitely going to come onto the Sega, but we were pretty sure. I actually, as soon as we got it, I went to, I think it was the Bodega, a local corner store, and got a Game Pro, right, which I then subscribed to keep up on video games. And I was introduced to Sonic the Hedgehog, and those games were, in my opinion, exactly what I needed to just get into a video game, to play it. Everything else was way too complicated. Even Altered Beast got on my nerves after a while. The two games that I could really play relentlessly, because I'm not a video game dude, were Toe Jam and Earl, mostly with my brother. Even that, incredibly frustrating, but it kind of was frustrating for everybody after a while, so it was kind of okay. And Sonic, because it's just run and bump. You're just running and bumping and running and bumping, and it's always the same. Exactly what I need. I am not a super focused video game person. It's very hard for me. And I liked Sonic. I liked it a lot. By the time Sonic 2 comes out, we're renting video games regularly. I believe Blockbuster was already in my neighborhood, but we were renting video games. Even going to, what was it called? It was a chain, and trading in games. And Sonic 2 comes out, and the game store, the video, wherever it was I saw games, you saw this, Tails on this airplane. And I was like, wait, whoa, you fly an airplane in Sonic? And someone's like, no, it's just an opening cutscene. And I was like, okay, because that's crazy. But that plane always stuck with me, and I borrowed the game, played it a bunch of times, and like the first Sonic, it was really like, okay. I believe, Joe, anyone can look this up and prove me wrong, I believe Sonic Spinball came next, before Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic Spinball was not for me. I think actually I rented it a couple of times because I wasn't like a huge Sonic fan. I didn't have a t-shirt. I didn't talk about it, but like that's the kind of game I like to play. But Sonic Spinball is not the type of game I like to play. Just funny because at the exact same time I was actually getting into pinball, physical pinball. I like that a lot more than video games, right around the same time, but did not like Sonic Spinball. It made me dizzy. It's very possible that even the Robotnik Bean County Tetris game was out before Sonic and Knuckles, but here's why Sonic and Knuckles stands out for me. Sonic and Knuckles had the attachment piece, right? That you could take an old Sonic game, put it on there, and play. And that was cool. And GamePro, which I was still subscribed to. Man, I threw out stacks of GamePro magazines years ago. Anyway, I knew through GamePro and through, reading up on the thing, which again, really pre-internet, early internet, which I didn't have. How about that? That you could unlock special levels if you played as Knuckles in the old games. And I'm like, you can attach this to your old game and you can play old Sonic with Knuckles in it? And there's secret like, to me, this was god tier genius to me. It was like $15 more than every game. I was a comic book kid. I was spending most of my money on comic books. Getting video games was a very like hard bargain thing, and no one was trading in the Knuckles game. You couldn't even rent it. Rental was 3 days only. Everything else had 6-day pass, but that game only had 3. It was insane. And then my friend got it. My friend who lives in New Jersey, but my friend got it. I brought both my Sonic games. We climbed up one of the rings. We went into the secret. It was amazing. And then I basically forgot about it. There were Sonic cartoons going on. They were pretty lousy. There were Sonic comics that were very silly. That's where all the chili dog stuff starts. And then I kind of just lose track of it. I did not get the Sonic game that existed when I finally got a Saturn. Yes, my Sega Saturn gets mentioned here again. I should probably make sure I put it in the tags. And by the time I was looking at another video game system in college, in the end of college, I went with the Xbox. I didn't even consider Sony. Sonic dominated Reddit and a certain part of the internet while I was going off and living for a while before becoming a denizen of the internet 10 years ago. And became a whole subculture, a whole thing. And I'm vaguely aware of it. My kids watched a bunch of the different Sonic cartoons at different points when they were on Netflix. And then there was this whole thing with the new Sonic show. You know, battery's dying. Hold on, we gotta plug in. There was changing our angle a little. Confessions of a Sonaholic. I really don't like. I don't feel like I know enough about Sonic, but that's how I feel about most things. So maybe I am. Maybe I'm a big Sonic holic, Joe. Maybe. All the controversy over how horrible Sonic looked because he was realistic and he didn't look like cartoon Sonic. And I was like, well, that's crazy. Clearly, there's a reason that like they want him to look real, like he's interacting with people. There's some reason that he's looks like a hedgehog who's blue. He's a hedgehog who's mutated. Like they want to keep some real. There's some reason for that. And then they went, nope, we're not doing it. He's going to look like cartoon Sonic, and we didn't have to change anything because it was just a look. And I'm like, they didn't have to change anything. Surely there was a reason he looked realistic. It's always in the back of my mind as I have people, yeah, it was fun. Oh yeah, people saw, with their little kids. Their little kids liked it. People who love Sonic were like, yeah, it was just respectful enough with its fan service that like it felt like, oh, this is a fun time. This. It's not trying to be more than it is. Fine. So I sat down and watched Sonic #1, and it completely blew my mind in 2 ways. One, there was no reason for him not to be cartoony. Maybe they changed more things than just the CGI, and they changed some dialogue and lines, but he's basically from another planet / another dimension. They kind of play around with that idea, I think. But like, he looks exactly how he looks, and that's fine. There's no reason for him to look more like an actual hedgehog on Earth. Like I can't understand unless they go out of their way and they reshot certain scenes to say, but fine. It was really pretty decent. I was surprised. It was 1 hour and 40 minutes. Good time. All right. I sat down and watched Sonic 2, and like the fan service is off the charts. Now, not in a terrible way. Again, I saw the plane. He's Sonic rides the plane like the beginning of Sonic 2. It's pretty fan service now. It's really like, oh my God. Sonic. Again, I don't want to give too many spoilers for things. Idris Elba shows up as Knuckles. He does a classic Knuckles story in the sense of he's helping the bad guy. He finds out the bad guy's the bad guy. Helps Sonic. I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anybody. My daughter goes, Knuckles? Isn't he just like he's a big dumb guy? And I'm like, from what? She goes, I don't know, like all the cartoons, all the war. He's a big dumb guy, and I'm like, it's kind of what he is. They kind of went with that. He's not hip to a lot of the things that are going on around him. He's definitely a little oblivious, and I'm like, that's fine. They spun this off into a show. I knew this, but the series ends, and not only do they like wrap things up and open up for a little sequel, they give you a whole big scene of like the Sonic family, Sonic and Miles and uh, Knuckles, and basically their adopted family. And you're like, okay, so it's Alvin and the Chipmunks. That's where they're ending with this, and it's like, so what's the Knuckles show? How is there a Knuckles show? Why would there be a Knuckles show, especially when they know specifically they're making a third one, right? And the Knuckles show came out before they um, started, promoting the third one, but it was announced. They knew it was happening. What's going on here? And the only answer I have is it must have been the human, the main human, Adam Paley. It must have been in his contract that if he came back for the sequel, he got a spin-off show, or he had a show lined up somewhere, and he said, "Oh, I would love to combine these." The problem that they faced as the television, I'm really going off on this. Um, I'm overtired. That's really what it is. I just can't shut up because I'm overtired. Uh, the problem is that the Adam Paley character, Wade, that they created in Sonic 1 and 2 is like a really, really low tier B single joke character. He shows up to be the punchline, or he does something for it to later be the punchline, but without it even really contributing in any way to the plot, to the development of any characters, to anything. So he's just a joke character. Which is fine. But now he's starring in a show opposite plushy Idris Elba. This is a problem. This is how do you make that show? Again, I don't know why they made that show. I don't know what the intent was with the show, but they are now faced with a show where you've got this. Again, I am not a TV guy, a watcher guy, or anything. I don't know who Adam Paley is. I don't know where he comes from. I don't know. Emily was very disappointed when I said that, but we glossed over it and we kept moving when I talked about it. That being said, that they sat down and said, okay, we have to create this character who has nothing, no backstory in the movies, full backstory. Yeah, but whose money? Like who was being forced to do it? Who wanted to do it? Anyway, and what they went for was a real absurdist tone. Wade is on a journey to get his mojo back in bowling so he can bowl in the bowling tournament. And uh, Knuckles needs something to do with all this warrior knowledge he has. He knows he's the greatest warrior trained, and he's just doing nothing with his life. That's our premise. And we're going to have a surreal road trip adventure where they learn to be a better bowler warrior and life lessons along the way, blah, blah, blah. The people working on this show went so hard um, with the idea that this could not in any way be serious. They're like, look, Wade is a joke character. He's in a cartoon universe with cartoon echidnas and squirrels. Like, that's who's living with him. But the thing about the Sonic universe, everything else is normal. There's just these guys, and then there's scientists who have advanced science attacking them. That's the Sonic universe. So what are we going to do here? And they just made up out of whole cloth insane, fairly well researched slash performed traditional Jewish family backstory that combined his love of bowling, his love of music, because they have the whole like Paramount Music soundtrack to use, the love, all these things to really try. it's just delivered so over the top ridiculously. There are moments in episodes 1, 2, and 3 where you are going, did like one of the Farley brothers write this in their sleep? Like it's like cheap Farley brothers stuff, but it kind of works. And then episode 4 is a vision journey as a rock opera, and it's wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's fully surrealistically meshing all the absurdness and heartfelt garbage and uh, actually weird Sonic lore um, from Knuckles' independent game into one. And you're just like, is the whole show this? And then it ends like it started with okay, we got to hit these marks. We got to. Carrie Ools shows up. Yeah, you heard me. Uh, Paul Shear shows up. Uh, see, I got you, Joe. Now you're in. Um, yeah, and he's not terrific. Like he's not terrific in a few things. It's just there. He's doing the best with what he has. Oh, Sarah wants to know if I gave the boy insulin. Yes. Um, but it still just ends like it started. It's like, okay, okay. Um, but that middle episode, they go so hard. They worked so thoughtfully that you know that they really knew what their show was. They really knew what they were making there. They knew how to deliver it. Everyone, the actors. Again, I don't know Adam Paley that well. I imagine he's probably a better actor than what I saw. Just like Stockard Channing, who is in it, is a better actress than we saw. But she's playing, it's a cartoon. She's playing this big, ridiculous role. And it's just done so well. I think they all owe a lot. It doesn't sound crazy. They all owe a lot to Jim Carrey because in the two Sonic movies, he really, Jim Carrey's it. He really allows there to be a lot of silliness on the human side as well. Um, and it really was an exceptional experience for me to watch something stupid and fun that knew it was stupid and fun, that knows its money is built in. Like it doesn't have to try so hard. They really didn't have to go as hard they did in episode 4. There's puppets and songs that are good. They really just had to be good enough, and they're good. Someone cared while they made that part, and it really gave a shine to the whole thing. Um, I'm not planning on seeing Sonic the Hedgehog 3 until it's available on some streaming service and I'm feeding a baby or doing some other mindless task. I'm not like super excited for them, but I really think, again, I've watched a lot of stuff since I started, almost a year since this girl was born, and I've probably watched countless hours of things feeding this baby, but it's definitely up there. It was definitely one of the better things I've watched. Again, I also think that Rebel Wilson senior year is a fantastic film. So I don't know, if I'm the person you should listen to, but yes, and Carrie was in it. Anyway, that's my very long, very rambly talk about my personal history with Sonic the Hedgehog and my thoughts on the recent films. I think that if you're looking for this kind of content from me, you should not expect it here on these live streams. They're usually much more perfunctory and much more comic book centric. But you're welcome to subscribe. Well, yeah, absolutely. All the shows I've watched. This was one of them. You're welcome to subscribe. Maybe don't put on notifications because most of my lives are babble. If you're looking for the sort of insight I brought to Sonic into comic books, we have a few videos up with recommendations, etc., etc., etc. Check out our social media. You can go see that story that I told you about that ended with me doing a reel on Instagram. You go check out that reel, whatever. Until tomorrow, where we'll do a short pre-Yom Kippur live stream, I hope. Remember, damn it, babies. I should change this one time. We'll say, damn it, babies, you gotta go fast. How's that?